Coming to the main topic, that what is the classification of external state actors and non-state actors, and we will deal them separately. So five points are required, and henceforth whatever it is the requirement, I will be teaching you that part only. If we talk about external state actors first, so first thing you must know what is state actor. State actor means there is a proper country. Directly or indirectly, a country is responsible for sponsoring the terrorism or spreading terrorism in another region, another country. So this indirectly a government of the country is actually involved. That is why we are stating it as a state actor. For example, for India, what are these countries which are creating problems within the country? First is Pakistan, we all know. Second is China. Sometimes Bangladesh. Or maybe at times Myanmar. And there can be other state as well. We are not sure of, there are allegations only, but yes, we are aware of Pakistan. There is a proper unit, that is inter-service intelligence, inter-service intelligence unit, which is called as ISI of Pakistan, and it is a government unit, and it directly responsible sometimes for spreading terrorism in the country, and that is why we will call them as external state actors. So state actors means there is a government or country involved, whether within the own country or outside, but when we add the word external here, it means to the other country. So what kind of attacks, what kind of terrorism act will be there? First is the state support, that to financial support to the terrorist groups. First point, they can provide training, they can supply arms, weapons, they can provide infrastructure to the terrorist groups, or their own army also to spread terrorism. Sometimes maybe not at front. If it is at front, it would be a war. But if there is an act on the civilians and targeting them and then spreading terrorism, so that they can do. And in fact, they can provide technical or ideological support. So students, I have mentioned so many points. If this particular aspect has been asked to you, this can be a separate small question. 5 points are there at least. You can quote them, what kind of a support that can be provided by external state actors. Then their sponsored terrorism. Sponsored means that they want to spread their ideology. Same points can come up. We have seen example of Kashmir issue. Kashmir, because of the Pakistan involvement in the Pakistan occupied Kashmir, and there is a history behind it. I have already explained the history in the past videos. The Kashmir issue can be explained very clearly as in one of the examples of the external state sponsored terrorism. Then Bangladesh and Myanmar can also be the part of it at times. For example, you know that there are many Maoist activities. And Nepal, if we say there were some camps in Nepal, so maybe there are allegations again, maybe government was supporting them, maybe, but in Myanmar there were some camps of NSCN. Then ULFA, you know that the particular United Liberation Front of Assam, this particular body, there were many camps seen in Myanmar, and in fact India did surgical strike in Myanmar also, if you remember. So such example states that these are also somewhere being supported, maybe somewhere supported by the governments. However, when we talk about Bhutan, Operation All Clear was there. Bhutan, it never being the part has done anything against the India. All the acts were somewhere in the favor of India, and there is a good friendship between India and Bhutan. So Royal Army of Bhutan helped India, in fact, eliminating the problem of Fulfa militants, and that was a very good operation actually. But when we talk about Bangladesh, sometimes illegal migrants, they come to India and they pose threat of terrorism. So Bangladesh before 1971, you know, it was Pakistan only, and there are still some forces which are spreading the terrorism, and they may seek help. Again, students, very carefully write this in your exam, because these are just allegations only and no proper records are there, and even if are there, they are not disclosed properly. Whatever we are discussing here, it is very sensitive, and you need to ensure that you cannot directly hurt the because tomorrow you will be a officer, and you cannot hurt the sentiments of the other country also, and you cannot give vague statements as well. Maybe you are a foreign service officer and diplomat, and it is not expected out of you to give some vague statements. So craftfully write this in the exam, and you can definitely say that there are some allegations where Bangladesh and Myanmar, the support has been seen where they support the NSCN groups, because of corruption. You can definitely quote the word corruption here, that some kind of government officials, because of corruption, they help such kind of organization, and then it comes under external state actors. Okay, but China, Pakistan, explicitly you can mention that yes, these particular neighbors, these are hostile neighbors, and we are very much in problem because of these neighbors, and particularly inter-service intelligence, you can quote it directly. It is very much evident and clear at all fronts. Okay, students. So if I give you the motto of ISI, that is inter-service intelligence, there are few points, and you can quote these points in the exam in this particular topic. First is that they want to bleed India into thousands cuts. See, whenever Pakistan has been at war with India, whether 1971, 1999, whenever there has been a front war between India and Pakistan, Pakistan has lost. It has always lost the ground, and it is very much clear that Pakistan cannot win a direct war with India. So now there is a change in the strategy, and the strategy is that why not to bleed India into 1000 cuts? Means that we can spread communal rights within the country, we can spread fear within the masses, we can hurt the economy of India and not let India grow. And one such example is the role of sleeper cells. Actually, you are aware, the sleeper cells are group of people or maybe individuals which are actually intermingled within the population of the India, being working as civilians only within the country, but their agenda, or they are sent from the outside, they do infiltration, they come within the country, they live as simple citizens, but their whole agenda is actually to create turmoil within the country, and that is why they are called as sleeper cells, because they sleep, they are in total anonymous situation for years, and then they someday come up and does the attack. So that is why they are sleeper cells. It's a very big problem. And next motto of ISI is, again I've already told you, destabilize the economy of country. So country means India, and they can do so by using fake currencies. Fake currency has been a issue, and we will link this with the money laundering also, we will link this with the organized crime also. Third aspect is that communal hatred is spread, because of which there will be communal rights. And ultimately you can also mention there are some anti-government groups that will be operating in India, and they will provide financial logistic and militancy in India. So such kind of a motto of inter-service intelligence of Pakistan, and this can be written, this can be clearly mentioned in the examination when we are dealing with the external state actors, particularly Pakistan. Okay, you can mention all these points. Okay students, so I hope the topic is clear. Coming to the next topic, that is non-state actors. Now what do you mean by non-state? That means they are not country as such. These non-state actors are some kind of groups, and these groups are trying to spread the act of violence within the country, but actually it is not possible that without the support of anybody they can do so, because they need these particular countries for spreading and helping out them in these particular aspects. I've already mentioned with respect to training, infrastructure, arms supply, financial support, or maybe ideological and technical support. It is actually, you cannot differentiate them, but still they say that they are individual entities, they are not country as such, and there are again allegations, we cannot say it directly. So these small groups, these are the group of people who want to create turmoil within the country, and they are not actually the country as such, they are not a state. Then we can say they are non-state actors. Within the non-state actors, we can say that they are standalone operations are there by these particular organizations. For example, Lashkar-e-Taiba is there. For example, Indian Mujahideen is there. I have already given these examples. And the individual acts of insurgency in Northeast. So insurgency in Northeast is done by some groups, and these groups are not the particular countries in itself. So they are non-state actors. For example, militancy in J&K. So if there is an entity, if there is a terrorist group which is spreading the ideology of being free from the country of India and spreading militancy in Jammu and Kashmir, then we can say it is non-state actor. But again I am saying, so it is highly impossible that they are not supported by any other country, or they are not sponsored by any other country. Then left-wing extremism of spreading of the Naxalism, CPI Maoist is there. Though we have seen some kind of association with other countries, still we can say that CPI Maoist is one such organization which is in itself spreading the problem of terrorism, but it is not a state actor, it is a non-state actor. There can be other examples also, students. There can be some MNCs. Multinational companies are also non-state actors, but if such multinational company spread hatred, violent activities are done by these types of multinational companies using social media, and if they promote it and spread violence, they try to instigate people, then this will also be one such example of non-state actor doing terrorism, because this is also an act of terrorism where fake news has been done and propagated in the way so that the people are getting more polarized and they influence, maybe political influence can also be there. Another example can be some kind of religious groups. If promoting their own religious group, they spread violence and they attack the people of other religion who are innocents, then such kind of an act will also be considered as a terrorist attack by non-state actors. So these religious groups can also be non-state actors. So write it very craftfully again. You cannot directly target any religion in the exam. You cannot directly target any kind of religious group in the exam or any kind of MNC in the exam. Try to avoid such examples, but you can mention them in general, and in conclusion you can quote that these non-state actors, it has been seen sometimes that there are allegations that they are promoted or sponsored by state actors only at times. Okay, this can be conclusion, but this cannot be the first line of your answer. So make sure that you write the answer very carefully. So students, next topic of discussion is categorization of terrorism in India. So we can broadly categorize terrorism into 4 categories. One such category is the hinterland of terrorism, and hinterland means that its coverage is very vast. It is not just confined to the localized area of India. Throughout the India the problem is there. I'll give you some examples, but the second category is Jammu and Kashmir militancy. Another category, third category, is insurgency in northeast. So we are broadly categorizing terrorism. It is not the types, it is the category where we can say the terrorism is being spread. And fourth is Naxalism. Naxalism, left-wing extremism. So students, these two topics, there is not we can say that there is a direct linkage of the external state actor in sponsoring such kind of attacks, though there can be indirect links. So these particular topics, they have dealt separately, and I have explained them very clearly beforehand. The problem of Jammu and Kashmir, this particular issue of Jammu and Kashmir militancy, I have already explained you, and definitely Pakistan as an actor, as an external state actor responsible, and it has direct and indirect links as well for militancy spread in Jammu and Kashmir. But when we talk about hinterland terrorism, its coverage is very vast. And I've already told you the motto of inter-service intelligence of Pakistan, that we need to, what they're trying to do, they're trying to bleed India into 1,000 cuts. Kashmir movement by Pakistan, definitely. And there is another kind of an organization that is called as SIMI. So what is SIMI actually? SIMI is Students Islamic Movement of India. In 1997 in Aligarh, there was a students group, and that students group, it started an organization where it wanted the Muslim youth to follow Islamic code of conduct. Islamic code of conduct. What does this actually mean? It means that youth which is being influenced by the Western culture should be brought back, and they should be converted where they should follow Islamic code of conduct rather than getting influence from the Western culture. But later on, what happened? There were many riots, communal violence that was seen, and riots were seen, and because of the hate speeches and all, this particular organization was later even banned as well. But after the ban of this organization SIMI, the offshoot, or we can say affiliate, arose, and that particular organization was called as Indian Mujahideen. Okay, so I'll tell you in detail about Indian Mujahideen. Though later on it was banned as well in 2010, it was banned by the government of India, and many such attacks were done by Indian Mujahideen people. It is being said that there were some members of SIMI who actually initiated this particular organization, Indian Mujahideen. Anyways, so this is the coverage as such, and this is the spread of terrorism. It's not just confined to a very single area of the country, it is spread throughout. Let me give you some examples so that you can code these examples in your exam. So I'll clean this particular slide and give you some examples now of some terrorist attacks. One such example is the Mumbai serial blast in 1993. This is one of the examples. Then I have given you example of Malegaon blast of 2006. It killed many innocent people. Then there was a train called as Samjhauta Express, and this particular train was burned, and there was a terrorist attack in 2007. Other examples include attack on German bakery in Pune 2010, and we already know that there was a parliament attack in Delhi 2001. Students, you can quote such examples in your exam. In addition, Recent, if we talk about recent attack, then Pulwama attack. Very recent attack of 2019, 14th of February, where many of the security personnel, approximately more than 40 security personnel, they lost their lives. Then similar kind of attack in Pathankot, and Uri attack, very we can say dreadful, and many of the security personnel, they lost their lives also. Very unfortunate that these particular kinds of attacks, they happened in the country. They happened in 2016. Okay, so these examples can be quoted in the exam, and definitely terrorism, if you are writing about the topic terrorism and if you are giving answer in your mains examination, you can quote these examples, very important. So now talking about the hinterland issue of the vast coverage of the terrorism in the India, one such incident is the Ayodhya incidents. Students, in 1992 many communal riots happened in our country. There were many communal riots, and Ayodhya issue was there, Babari Masjid issue was there, and then Mumbai blast also happened in 1993. A lot of communal violence was there, and this, we can say, these particular cases, when they happen, Pakistan, ISI, it takes undue advantage of such situation, and then it encourages some organizations to in fact create more turmoil in the country. Okay, for example, one such example is Godhra riots, and there was a train that was being burned in Godhra, and the issue was in Gujarat. The communal riots happened to an extent where a lot of people lost their lives, many were left injured, and many left their houses. So these incidences, communal riots, communal incidences, Muzaffarnagar riots, in fact in Delhi also, 2020, we saw that there were riots that happened in Delhi itself when the Donald Trump was visiting India, and many of the people, they were engaged in the communal riots at the same point of time when Donald Trump was there. Then Indian Mujahideen, I've already talked about this, that such kind of organizations, they fuel these communal issues, they fuel such terrorist incidents and activities. So this particular topic of hinterland terrorism, if it comes up separately as a 10-mark question, you have lot of things to mention in your answer. Okay, students. Then there is a reactions of the right-wing extremists. So right-wing extremists are those people who actually want to maintain status quo. They do not want to give up their particular state of dominance, and they want to maintain it. Malegaon incidents or attack is one such example. Lashkar-e-Taiba, LET, is being said that the organization behind it. So these kind of attacks, it happened, and in fact there is a Bangladeshi organization as well, which is Harkatul Jihad al-Islami, Huji. This organization also is responsible for attacking India. So if a question comes up about the non-state actors, then also you can quote this example. Not directly influenced or supported by Bangladesh government, we cannot say that, it cannot be alleged that like that, but Huji is one of the examples where we can say that yes, internationally there are some groups and organizations which want India to be in some kind of a turmoil, right? So this is one example. This example is of Samjhauta Express train incidents of 2007. Okay students, I have already given you example. Now in fact what I will do is, I'll give you some examples of the organizations, and I will give you some background of these organizations, what other kinds of examples of terrorist activities that they have done in the past. You can quote them in one of your in any of your answers, but still I would advise my students to not to go in detail. It is not advisable that you should go in detail of such kind of terrorist organization, because that will not be of much help in your exam, because the topics are such where you want to give the reasoning, where you want to give the measures to counter it, rather than there will be an explanation that would be asked about the logo of the organization or the people behind the organization. That should not be your target. Still, when the question came up regarding the competitive industry, terrorism growing up as a competitive industry, definitely you can quote such militant outfits. One such example is Jaish-e-Mohammed. Jaish-e-Mohammed. So this particular organization, the founder of the organization is, again I have already explained, Masood Azhar, and in year 2000 this organization was founded. This particular person was responsible for Air India hijacking in 1999. In fact, this Jaish-e-Mohammed group is being said responsible behind the Pulwama attacks of 2019 and also behind the Parliament attack of 2001. Okay, so what you must know that when the organization was founded, if there is any kind of a famous leader behind it, and what all attacks as an example it has done in the past. Second organization you can quote in the exam is particularly Lashkar-e-Taiba. You would have definitely heard these names, students, that is LET. This particular organization was founded in 1990 by the leader name is Hafiz Saeed. So if you remember the famous leader, then you must quote it. But then also it is important to mention some of the activities that they have done. For example, they have been responsible behind the 2008 Mumbai attacks, and also with respect to Parliament attack, some of the members were from the Lashkar-e-Taiba as well. Parliament 2001 attack. Okay. So these are the just two organizations. I give you another organization, that is third organization is HUGI. I have already told you about this organization being Bangladesh, formed in Bangladesh and responsible for attacks in India. Okay. This organization is Pakistan and Bangladesh based organization, and if you want to give example, then some of the attacks in Banaras, if we remember, Banaras bombings, particularly of 2006, and Delhi blast of 2011, serial blast. So this organization was responsible behind the acts. Then fourth organization you can quote in your exam is Indian Mujahideen. So this is how you can say that yes, it is a competitive industry, because many such organizations are coming up and they are taking responsibility. This is one of the Islamist terrorist groups. This organization was founded after the banning of the SEMI organization, and I have already told you in 2010 it was declared terrorist organization and in fact banned by Indian government, right? Then students, there is another example, that is Hizbul Mujahideen. This organization, we can say that it is a Kashmiri terrorist group, and in 1989 this particular organization was founded. Okay. Another organization, students, that is Al-Qaeda. Definitely you would have heard the name of Al-Qaeda. Al-Qaeda organization in Middle East, it has its presence, but in Indian subcontinent it is called as Al-Qaeda of in the Indian subcontinent. It is one of the continent. It is one of the organizations which has its presence in India, and it is an affiliate or offshoot. This particular organization, we can say that it has members that are called as jihadis, and definitely this organization has been banned by UN also. and many attacks in Uttar Pradesh and Gujarat were because of this organization. Talking about another organization, the organization which I am talking about is Islamic State of Iraq and Syria. Students, this particular organization ISIS, this is one of the examples of international terrorist organization. So let us suppose in future, if it is being asked that you have to give some examples of international terrorist organization, not just in India, their presence is in basically outside India. So you should have some fodder points in your hand. So I will be talking about this particular organization in detail, and I will give you some points. This organization was founded in 1999, and later on, however, in 2006, the many fractions of the different organizations in Iraq while fighting with the US forces, because you know that US was attacked 26, the particular 9/11 attack which happened in US. After this, US presence was there throughout the Middle East, and the particular fractions, many small fractions, they came together and they formed a group which was called as Islamic State of Iraq. And while fighting with the US forces, there was a leader called as Abu Omar al-Baghdadi. The leader was killed, and by 2010 a new leader emerged up, and the name of the leader was Abu Bakr al-Baghdadi. So I hope you would have heard this name, Abu Bakr al-Baghdadi. This particular person, he became the leader, and then the organization was the influence of the organization started moving towards the Syria. And by 2013, students, this ISI, it expanded in Syria, and as I've told you, and the name, it also changed to ISIS, that means Islamic State of Iraq and Syria. Also, the another name for such organization was ISIL, that is Islamic State of Iraq and Levant. So this is also another name. United Nations also recognized this name. So by 2013, this was the scenario that ISIS was very much expanded. Its span of functioning was there in Syria, and many of the oil fields and oil wells were attacked, and in fact these resources were captured under ISIS. Then students, by 2014, what happened is this particular person, Abu Bakr al-Baghdadi, what he did, he declared himself to be caliphate. So we call it Khalifa. So caliphate, that particular if a person is been declaring himself as Khalifa, that means the allegiance towards the political form or military or religion, such kind of allegiance should be shown towards him by all the Muslim communities throughout the world. But definitely, if such scenario would be there, many modern countries, many Muslim countries would be against it, and in that case this particular recognition was denied by definitely by Western countries also, and many Muslim dominated countries also. So this particular person, Abu Bakr al-Baghdadi, his approach, or the ISIS approach or objective is to bring the Sharia law again, and the orthodox way of dominance in the past, it should be preached again, and the Muslims who are influenced towards the Western culture, they should be brought back, and all the people, all the Muslim community, they should show their allegiance towards them as a Khalifa, and political, military and religious allegiance should be there. However, then in 2019, what happened was, in Syria, US forces, it is the news is spread that the US forces have killed Abu Bakr al-Baghdadi, but the presence of ISIS still prevails. However, there are Kurdish people who are fighting for their land, southern Turkey and northern Iraqi places there in Syria, northern plains of northern areas of Syria is also there. This particular region, they want to make a separate country for themselves, Kurds that we call it. Then the US forces are there, then Russian forces were there, UN peacekeeping forces were there. So all these some small fractions of other terrorist outfits are also there, and they started making Syria as a place of terror and fighting, and it was a battleground at the end, and these forces, they fought together and against the ISIS also, and the presence of ISIS has reduced remarkably, not just from the Syria but also from the Iraq, and the places that were captured by ISIS, they have been taken back. Now in fact the scenario is like this, that the ISIS, its presence has been seen, the new grounds have been seen, they have lost their ground in Syria and Iraq, and new grounds of Africa where their presence has been recently seen. So one example is ISIS, I have already explained you. Another example I want to give you is Boko Haram. Boko Haram is a terrorist organization which is prevailing in Nigeria, northern parts of Nigeria and African other countries. Then another example is of Houthis. They are fighting in Yemen. Next example is of Hamas. These terror outfits, they are fighting in Israel and Palestine issue which is prevalent there. So ISIS is one example, Boko Haram is another example, Houthis, Hamas. You can quote these examples in your exam if international terrorist organizations are being named. Okay, so but the question remains the same. What threat is there on India because of the presence of ISIS? Is there any threat? So if such question comes up, you must be able to answer it. First point is, students, that India is a second most populous, or with respect to population if we say, so Muslim population is there in our country. Second most population of Muslims are there in our country, and because of which India is ultimately can be threatful. It can be there can be a threat of ISIS because their ideology of Khalifa. Then definitely they would want that second most populous country should show its allegiance towards ISIS Khalifa ideology. Second is the youth. India is very much youthful country, and using social media or mass media, there can be a propaganda of radicalization of the youth, and there can be new recruitments can be done via using social media. Third point is that definitely because of the number one most population of the world being India, there are a lot of economic crisis, economic issues in the society, and because of unemployment at times, and less jobs, education, and economic poverty, hunger, all these issues, since they are prevalent in our country, we cannot deny that people sometimes, youth sometimes tend fall ill and fall short, and they are affected by the idea of or ideology of the ISIS for some money, some employment, or maybe some kind of perks that are being given to the people, and corruption is also there. So students, we can say that yes, India is somewhat in a threatful condition by ISIS because of these reasons. So you can frame these examples in your exam.